Hey, it's Wendi Jensen here, and I'm here with Rodney Allgood. And Rodney does this amazing thing for those people who are former Jehovah's Witness, and he coaches them, and he does empowerment conferences, and he's traveling doing this. And so we've connected, and we have found out in our discussions with each other how fascinating the parallels are between our religions. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about the control groups, or the control technology, I guess you could call it, the elements of mind control that are parallel in both of the religions. I grew up LDS, a member of the Mormon church, and Rodney grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, and we have since both transitioned out of those religions, and we are both coaching people who are transitioning out, because it can be a pretty epic moment in your life, and both of us are passionate about helping people find their skills and new skills to create their new world outside of the religion. So, Ronnie, thanks for being with me today. We've had a crazy time trying to get together with technology, but I'm excited to have this video done and to be able to talk to you and be able to provide it for other people who are interested in this topic. So tell me a little bit about, before we get into the parallels of mind control, tell me a little bit about your Empower conference that's coming up.
Well, we've been doing these conferences, and I want to thank you for being a part of them. We've been doing these conferences across the country. We started off in Los Angeles, and we were in Dallas, and now we'll be in New Jersey on January 25th and 26th. And basically, it's personal development for people who have been stunted in various ways from being in a cult-like or high-controlled religion. So we teach a lot of things that help people to move their lives forward, not so much the bashing of the religions, but just things that were kept from you that you need to know to be able to catch up with the rest of the world, or to be able to find your groove and find your sense of purpose and all that good stuff. So we're basically doing personal development for people who want to move forward with their lives, people who want to not be defined by elements of their past so much anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly what I focus on too, and that's what I love about your conference. Is it's really forward thinking and helping people to gain the skills to be able to move forward. Because I think when we come out of a high demand religion, we don't realize how underdeveloped we are.
Right.
We have no idea that the world has, relationship skills and, social skills that we didn't know we were missing. Would you say that's true with Jehovah's Witnesses too?
Yeah. And a lot of people are still defined by the religion even after they leave. They're still defined by being an ex-member or by the religion itself. What I find is with religions like that, it encompasses every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
So when you remove the religion, there's a tremendous vacuum within you. And what most people do is they put their religion back where the vacuum was and become the LDS member, anti-Jehovah Witness, right? And you spend all your time keeping up with the religion and their current scandals and, investigating the history of the religion. And you can spend years doing that because you're still owned by it. You're still defined by it, instead of looking at what may define you. And though we both do this work of helping ex-members, I don't think either one of us are defined by the religion. We're simply helping people that we understand.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but for me, there's part of me that wishes I could just step away, but I feel like, I don't know, it's an inner calling to be able to help people gain the skills to move forward. And so, I don't define myself by my work or by being an ex-member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but there are times when you get sucked back in, and if you don't feel like it's your calling, I would be happy to be able to step away and do something else. But I'm passionate about helping people discover the truth of who they are and really get to the core of their potential and to really just start to flower and bloom once they've given themselves permission to leave the religion. Is that kind of?
No, our history always has value.
Yes.
And I think we both do this work because we like helping people. I'm a motivational speaker, so I do things at corporate conferences and high schools and universities, all kinds of stuff. But one thing I found that is true for me is I help people on a deeper level who have shared my past.
Yes.
You know, I speak at corporate events, and I've never worked for a large corporation. I speak at universities. I've never went to college. You know what I mean? But when it
Yeah.
comes to this stuff and working with people with my same history, I'm much more effective than most psychologists are.
Yes.
Because I actually lived it. Same with you. So I think our calling is merely to help people. But if you look at it the right way, whatever your past was has value. If you're not judging yourself by it, it has value. If you're not stuck in angry and resentful about it, you just accept what it is and you flip it to help you. It's kind of like, I do a lot of speaking at places that have former drug addicts, say, like homeless community or former homeless community, or different nonprofits that help different people. And although they appreciate me coming and speaking, I don't have the same impact that a former drug addict has.
Right.
Because he relates to it a lot more than I do because I've never used drugs. So that person is using their past. He's not defined by his drug past, but he's using his past to help people. And that's what we're doing, because when you understand it, you understand the nuances of it.
Yes.
Like for me, I've never done drugs. I don't know what feeling like an addict is like. For me, it makes no sense. Why would somebody do something that harms them? It makes no sense to me because I've never had that mindset. I've never had the problem. So I can only relate so much. So the same here, we do this work because we relate to it. I get the nuances, the little things that you really have a hard time explaining to somebody who hasn't lived it. And you get that too, coming from your history. But as we get to know each other, we're finding that our histories aren't that different. You kind of call things different, put different labels on things, but it's the same thing underneath it all.
Yeah. And so that's one of the things I wanted to talk about today, because I had you come to Salt Lake when we did like an evening event there. And there was something that I could tell with the audience that we had there that really just was so profound and helped them, because I mean, this is probably the same with Jehovah's Witnesses as they're leaving. There's still that mind control has such a grip on the mind that we're constantly doubting whether we've done the right thing, or maybe they were right all along. But there's something that you said that was so profound that I know made an impact on people who still are having that doubt in the back of their mind. And it's when you started talking about the elements of mind control. But before we go there, earlier today when we talked, you asked me the question I think that is a great lead into this whole this whole discussion about the elements of mind control. And it was, what did you ask me? Something about my go ahead and ask. Do you remember a question I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think I asked you what do Mormons believe about eternity, or people who weren't Mormons, whenever that day comes where, I don't know what you call it, Judgment Day, or whatever it is, or whatever happens after you die, or Judgment Day, or whatever it is. What do Mormons believe? And you explained it to me. And we can go into that in a little bit, but I want to get into the elements that are true for any kind of religion like that. And these three elements are: number one, we need an enemy. The enemy is normally the devil, isn't it?
Right.
We need fear. You've got to fear something. You've got to fear the world. You've got to fear things that are outside your faith. You need a lot of fear. You need fear coming at different angles, lots of fear. And then you need a hope that only comes through this source. That's how you control people. create a problem and create the solution to the problem, and it only comes to us. So it doesn't really matter what the high controlled religion is. They use those same elements. Politicians use those same elements too, right?
Yes.
They create fear, they create an enemy, and the only hope comes through, checking the box next to my name. So
Yeah.
it's just a very, very simple equation to control people.
Yeah. Well, but then in religion, it gets really elaborate. And I think that's, as you ask the question, what is it that we believed as Mormons, or members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, is what we've been instructed to call ourselves now. What is it that we believed would happen to people that didn't believe like us in the next life? Mm. And so I'll explain that, and we can see how those streams of those three elements of control kind of are woven into the doctrine. Is that good?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so in the LDS doctrine, people who die who did not get baptized and who do not live a valiant life under the influence of Mormonism, they are sent to what is called a spirit prison, or a spirit world, because prison was kind of a hard word. I think they're kind of softening a lot of the language. And the doctrine I'm going to teach you right now is a doctrine that was taught me. But right now, the Mormon Church is kind of reordering the doctrine to fit a whole new paradigm now. But what I was taught was those spirits go to spirit prison, and they're kind of suspended there until someone in the church can extract their name or find their footprints, whether it's through some kind of documentation, through a birth certificate or a blessing certificate or immigration certificate, or some evidence that they lived on the earth, and they'll link it to family members, and then they'll do their work for them. So they'll first get them baptized and then confirmed. And then if they were married, then they'll seal the husband and wife together so that they can be married in the next life. And so that is why Mormons have the temples, and they do so much genealogy work. I mean, Ancestry.com was invented by the Mormons. So when you find those ancestors, you want to make sure that you have them baptized, because they didn't have the opportunity on earth. And that's how everybody will be able to have the opportunity, if they choose in the next life, to be saved in heaven. And so basically it's up to us, the Mormon people, to be able to save the whole world by finding their names and doing the proxy work. And proxy work means you have a live human who's on the earth, do the work that wasn't done for that person who has now moved on. And so we call it work for the dead. And we have these elaborate temples that we put up in order to have all this done. And so if you're valiant, you make it to the celestial kingdom, and there you'll be able to live with Heavenly Father again, and you will have your family in the next life. That's the only level after death that you'll be able to have your family in the next life. And in that place, your whole body is restored, and you have everything is it's like paradise, and it's beautiful and perfect, and you get to have your family, and you get to live with Heavenly Father again. So hopefully that's enough doctrine to kind of flesh out the points that we're trying to make here. So what was it in Jehovah's Witness?
Well, so let's break that down. Let's break that down. So what are the elements of fear that are in that?
I know the element for fear for me was, it didn't really hit and download onto me until I had my daughter, my first child. And then it just kind of like all stacked up that I was so afraid that I wouldn't be able to be with her in the next life. And so that's when I was like, I have to live this to the T so that I can qualify for the next life, so that I can qualify for the celestial kingdom, and that I can't misstep, because I might be a bad example for them, and then they won't qualify. And so that's why the perfectionism started to move into my mind. I was afraid of losing my family and not being able to live with God again.
Right. So you're afraid of being cut off from your family for eternity?
Yes.
I imagine so.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. And what was the thing that was there? What was the biggest threat to you fulfilling that? Who was the enemy that was working against you fulfilling that?
Well, it was the devil, of course, but the
Mhm.
devil was so powerful that he could infiltrate my
Right,
thoughts, and I could be deceived. I was
right,
really positioned as a vulnerable
right.
source, and that devil was doing everything in his power to destroy
Yes.
me and tempt me away from that path.
Right. So there's the enemy, and there's also fear, I'm guessing, from non-members that the devil's using
Yes,
to distract you. So the devil has his hold over non-members, and association with these non-members
yes.
can keep you and distract you and lead you astray. Am I correct?
Especially the apostate people who have left the church, they're
Mhm.
especially um, contaminated with this power
That's
to
the highest level.
cause
Yes.
you.
Yeah. Great fear. They're also the enemy. The
Yes,
devil's the enemy. The apostates are the enemy. But the world in general, I'm assuming, is to be feared.
yes,
And the protective
it's
place to
wicked.
be is in this bubble of Mormonism or with the LDS members, right?
Yes,
Okay. And then the hope that comes to you, that's not a hope everyone has access to, right?
wow.
The hope that this eternal hope only comes to your submission to this game plan.
Yeah, through
Yeah.
the power of the priesthood, and only Mormons have that priesthood authority direct from
Mhm.
God. So no other baptism through any other church was valid.
Right.
Only the Mormon baptism and through LDS authority through the priesthood would you be able to experience.
So, yeah. So the thing about it is that is so crazy about any kind of religion like this is when you're a non-member, okay, and I'll share with you the Jehovah Witness thing, and you're gonna have probably the same reaction to a non-member. Everything you said sounds like just
Ridiculous. It does.
like if to a non-member, like who came up with this? Who just creates this stuff and people just follow it? Who just decides that, like who has this inner knowledge of all these heavenly things, and who comes up with this stuff,
Yeah.
right? Any non-member will look at it that way, and it just shows you how susceptible the human mind is to suggestion or to what we're raised with, right? And when
Yes.
I counsel people, one of the first things I say is that the human mind is merely a computer waiting to be programmed.
Yes.
And what normally happened is, there was a time period in the 1800s where people were really, really susceptible to a lot of these things. I mean, that was a time period where a lot of these religions, be it the Mormons, be it the Seventh Day Adventists, be it the Witnesses, they were all came to being in about a 30 or 40-year period, right? So people were really susceptible to the end of the world, to all kinds of stuff like that, right? So if our forefathers embraced this stuff somewhere along the line, whenever you have people who are going through a tough time in life, when they have no hope, when it seems like darkness, and someone says, I have a hope,
Mm-hmm.
it appeals to them
Yeah.
because it's a lot better than what I'm going through now. For my family, being African American, becoming Jehovah Witnesses in the '60s, whatever they were going through. My family's from the deep South, Alabama and Tennessee. What paradise, earth? Everybody's equal. Nobody. All this stuff we're going through now is not. It sounds great, right? So what happens is our forefathers get involved, right? And then it's all we know growing up.
Yes.
And reality is basically anything we believe reality is.
Yes.
The Wizard of Oz was reality to Dorothy until she found out otherwise. It was reality.
Mm-hmm.
The Tin Man was going to go get his heart, and the lion was going to get his courage, and the scarecrow, whatever it was, that is reality. You live by that reality. So the bottom line, if me and you were both born in Iraq or Iran or Afghanistan, we'd be Muslim.
We'd have a whole different
You
paradigm.
cover yourself from head to toe. God's name is Allah, and the Quran is the word of God. I have no
Right.
disrespect to anybody that believes that, but what I'm saying is that we are just products of our programming to a point where you could spend the majority of your life believing everything you just said.
Yes.
with nothing factual to prove it. It's just what you know.
Yes.
So the reason why I could kind of like tell you what each thing was is because it's the same formula for the Jehovah Witnesses, right?
Yeah.
The witnesses believe that there was a dark period of people just basically not knowing, being almost separated from God. And then the original leader of the witnesses, name was Charles Taze Russell. You know, an enlightened period was coming back. Like God is back up on the scene with this dude. Okay.
Yeah, we call it restoration. It was the time of
Right.
restoration.
So witnesses basically believe that 144 people only are going to heaven, and the rest will live on a paradise earth forever. So God is going to wipe out the entire planet except Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh my
They've
God.
loosened up on that a little bit, but for the most part, only Jehovah's Witnesses will survive. So John 3:16 says, God loved the world so much that he gave his only begotten son to wipe out 99.5% of the planet.
That's an interesting love, but okay.
That's real love. Right? So at this point, you know, he wipes everybody out, and then he resurrects people who didn't have a chance to basically make a decision to be a Jehovah's Witness because they died before the end came. Okay? So technically, Adolf Hitler's coming back, and he gets to judge. Oh, I didn't. Okay, I'm Adolf Hitler. I was killing millions of people. I'm resurrected back to life, and I get to choose whether I'm going with God or I'm going to be against God. I get to choose now. I'm resurrected. But the people who were alive when the end came, you could have been the nice old lady that donated her time to the church and was trying to, but you weren't a Jehovah's Witness, you got destroyed. But Hitler gets to come back and
Yes.
decide if he is going to choose the side of God or not, which is a little bit unfair because if I was dead and you bring me back and I get to choose, I pretty much know which side I'm choosing. So it's kind of like when you die. But there'll be a 1,000-year time period where, number one, we got to clean up all the dead people and, you know, restore the
Right?
earth.
That just the stench alone is not going to be paradisical.
We got a 1,000-year time period, and at the end of that, you really get to choose, and you know, whoever is faithful, whatever, gets to live forever in this paradise earth. And the animals will be all friendly. We get to eat watermelon and lakes and dates and sit in the middle of fields petting lions and pandas and all that stuff for eternity. And we get to be with our families forever and all that good stuff. So
there's no sickness and there's no
sickness, no, you know, play basketball, never miss a shot, you know, just 10 out of 10, you know, play chess and both of you know, you're just perfect. You're perfect. And that's the hope that they live for. And again, Satan's the enemy because Satan doesn't want anybody there, right?
Yeah.
So he tries to get you. The rest of the world is out to get you. They're out to discontaminate you. So you got to keep away from them. Don't listen to them. The apostates, just like, you know, with the LDS, the number one enemy, right? People like us are bad people.
Yes, we are.
Fear of being, not having everlasting life.
Yeah.
Fear of being judged by the church. Fear of people that are called worldly. Worldly can be the drug addict and the pastor. Doesn't matter if you're not a witness, you're worldly. You know, you're worldly. A lot of judgment. Same elements, and the hope that only comes to them, the new order. So these kinds of religions or these kind of high control groups are based on the carrot and the stick.
Yeah.
That's what motivates you. You're getting poked from behind or you want something ahead. And it controls people. And like you said, people wonder, did I make the right choice?
Yes.
Now, this is simply because your subconscious mind is programmed through repetitions. And anything you hear over and over and over and over and over again is so locked into your subconscious mind that it's difficult to remove it. It's difficult to remove the belief completely. What people need to realize And this is where most people make a mistake, and they question themselves because they don't realize what's happening. A lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses have a horrible life. They're struggling. It's not going well for them. Do you find the same with ex-LDS members a lot of times? Like they're just struggling in a lot of aspects of life.
Well, they do have, when the pendulum is so tightly wound on one side, and then you let it go, it swings
Right.
really drastically to the other side. So they do have a problem trying to find that balance in the middle for a while. But there's different elements in the LDS culture that do allow them to kind of pick themselves up and move into a more secular world in a healthy way. But the time that it takes is what, my goal is to help compress that time, because we don't know what's missing. We don't know how to adapt. We don't know how to restructure and repurpose our life. And so a lot of times we do have those wounds that last forever and never healed. And there's a lot of resentment and emotional upheaval and a lot of fear behind it. They lose a lot of friends. The risk of leaving is real. Many people lose their family. They lose marriage relationships. I lost my business. Many people lose their business because they kind of associated it with just members. And so, the leaving is real, and the adjustment is epic. It's a huge adjustment. But tell me a little bit about why it's so difficult in the Jehovah's Witness for them to be able to readjust.
Well, here's the one point I wanted to make. The mind is a very powerful thing. The subconscious mind is a very, very powerful thing.
Mm-hmm.
We create in our reality what we believed in up here.
Yes.
If your whole life you were told that if you leave this religion, for Jehovah's Witnesses, if you leave Jehovah, you leave his Holy Spirit, you leave his blessings, you leave all the good stuff's gone. Now you're in the grasp of Satan, and all these horrible things are going to happen to you because God is not blessing you anymore. If on a subconscious level you hold that belief, you will create that hardship yourself.
Yeah.
And as you have that hardship, you will blame the devil, and then you'll want to run back to the church. What most people don't realize is we weren't raised to succeed in the real world. We were raised to be a good member of the church.
To succeed in their world.
To succeed in that world.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like if you lived in a community where every electric outlet had a weird plug. It had like 5 prongs, and every outlet, every appliance had this weird plug. And then one day you get kicked out, or you got to leave that community, and you're trying to plug your computer in and your appliances, and nothing fits in the plugs in the real world. And you think something's wrong with the world. Why is it like this?
Yeah.
I never had a problem plugging my things in before. What's wrong? Not knowing that you've got to change the outlet itself.
Mm-hmm.
So look, for us, we've got to truly understand that we are programmed for that world. We're programmed with a paradigm that has to do with that world. And a lot of times we leave the religion, but we keep the paradigm.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the biggest things. And another thing, when you say about leaving friends and starting all over again, one reason why that's so difficult is because our minds also get wired to make friends a certain way.
Yes.
Okay, so when I was a kid growing up, if I met a new Jehovah's Witness kid or teenager, or a young man, a young woman, I know 80% of your life before you open your mouth. I know what you do on these particular days. I know what you do on this morning. I know what you do on that morning. I know what you think about morality and sex. I know what you think about politics. I know what your stand is about, for witnesses, they don't take blood. I know when your hair is too long. I know you shouldn't have that tattoo on you. I know all this stuff. I can go on and on about the things I know about your life before you say word number 1. I know when you're out of line. I know when you're talking about things you shouldn't be talking about. I know when
Mhm.
you have an opinion that is not a correct opinion by what we believe. So we sometimes, when we get into the real world, it's very uncomfortable for us, right? Because if I meet somebody new now, I have no idea who you are. I don't know if you're straight or gay or this or that. I don't know. I have no idea, right? And for a lot of us growing up that way, you know, it's it makes it uncomfortable to make new friends.
Yeah.
I think another thing that we lack is the ability to listen. You see, when you have the truth, witnesses call it the truth. Maybe you didn't call it there, but you still thought you had the truth, right? You
Yeah.
still
We
thought you
called it
had
the
the
truth.
kind of,
Yeah.
you call it the truth too. So you thought you had some kind of superior knowledge, and everybody around you thought the same way. So there was no real need to listen to people. When we knocked on your door on Saturday morning, we weren't there to listen to what you had to say at all. It's
Right.
a one-way street. Witnesses don't listen to each other because they all think the same thing. It's probably the same with the LDS. So our ability to really be concerned with other people and learn about them and be curious. Another thing, we weren't curious because curiosity creates questions. And those kind of high control religions, questions are a bad thing. They don't want questions. You accept. So when we try to get into the real world and we're not used to being good listeners, we're not used to being curious, and we're not fascinated by people, we are more of a judging nature. We judge things. Oh, that's right, that's wrong. There's no gray. It's right or wrong. It's black or white.
Yeah.
The rest of the world doesn't operate like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it leaves us at a disadvantage for sure because and the thing is, we don't know that we have that disadvantage because
Yeah,
everyone in our world was operating in
right.
that same program. So we think that everything is running optimally. But when we kind of break out of that, we're going home. I don't know how to make friends, or I don't understand the real healthy dynamics of relationship. I don't. How do I fit in my community now that I don't have my community was always like handed to me. I
Yeah.
didn't have to make any effort to be a part of the community. And so, yeah, you're just left kind of little handicapped, not realizing how underdeveloped you were in the
Mhm.
world.
This is something I explain to people a lot. And it's kind of an aha moment. I explain to people that most of the people that were in your world weren't friends. They were
Yeah,
comrades. There's a big difference. Okay. I know in the Jehovah Witness religion, when you were going through hard times, say if you committed something they considered a sin, or if you were punished by the church, or you're just struggling with something, people went like this.
yeah.
They pretty much disassociated themselves from you or made space, or you were just dirty. Okay.
But for members of the Mormon Church, it was my thoughts and prayers are with you. So I'll
Right.
give you thoughts and prayers, but otherwise stay away from me.
Right. A friend gets closer when you go through things.
Yes.
A comrade doesn't. A comrade is someone who's around you because of a common association or common interest. You know, we're in the army. Okay. I'll die for you.
Mhm.
You're my brother in the army. You might not even like that person. Or maybe it doesn't matter if you like them or not. We're in this together. We're in the army. Okay. That's a comrade. We both play for the Dallas Cowboys. That's a comrade. You probably wouldn't hang out at all if you didn't play on that team together.
Right.
Okay. We're all a part of the country club, you know, that really expensive country club up the road, right? You're in as long as you pay your dues every month.
Right.
The
And
second you
agreed.
can't pay your dues, nobody talks to you, right?
Yeah.
That's not a friend. A friend is there for you even tighter through the hard times.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we never knew how to make friends. We never practiced that skill of listening to make friends. We're so used to comrades and community. What
Yeah.
most people are missing is not friends, they're missing community. As
Yes.
a witness, when I was a kid and I wanted to go ice skating or to the movies, we went 30 deep. I mean, I had 30 friends with me everywhere we went. I mean, we went camping with many families, 15, 16 families camping. It was fun. It was a good time. I actually missed those days. And what I didn't realize when I was a witness is most people don't experience that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Most of the world, like we as, you know, LDS and witnesses are very similar in that way, where we experience community on a level that most of the world doesn't experience it. But you miss that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like a void there. But we realize that it's a skill that other people have had to develop, where they go and look for people with same commonalities. But it's also a true friendship. And I will say that there are the rare LDS people who do have skills to be friends, and who do have kind of that genuine care about them, and they'll stick with you through thick and thin. But for the most part, people don't want to hear your story. They don't want to know how you're suffering because you've lost your testimony. They don't want to hear how you lost your testimony, for sure. And they just kind of step back and they just say, well, that's too bad for you. You're out of my circle. And they'll even come up and say, you'll see them in the grocery store, and they'll be like, oh, I've missed you so much. We really miss you. And I'm like, I live 3 houses down. You're welcome to come visit me at any time. And what I understand now is that I miss that you're not coming to church anymore. They don't miss me because they don't even know me. They just miss the fact that I'm not showing up at church.
And you'll find, first of all, everything we say there's no absolutes about any of this.
Sure. Yeah.
And probably the people who are watching would tend to be more of the people who weren't like that. Hence, that's why you're here today, because you actually think for yourself. But it's so true what you said. The friendships normally in those kinds of situations are very surface.
Yeah.
You know, they say small minds talk about people, average minds talk about events, and big minds talk about dreams, philosophies, and ideas.
Yes.
It's that third thing that they don't talk about that much.
Yeah.
Talk about people a lot. Talk about events a lot, because there's always events coming up, right? So they kind of stay here. And at the end of the day, you really don't know people on a deep level, because people aren't sharing themselves all that much because they don't want to be judged.
Yeah. Well, and I just know when I'm in LDS groups now, like when I'm with my family members, they're always talking about so-and-so's on their mission, and so-and-so's getting married in the temple, and everything that they do is so enveloped in the church that their conversation, everything about their conversation is flavored with this Mormon flavor. And you don't realize until you step back, and the further away you get, you just go, that's all they talk about is their Mormon world. It's almost like they don't have the capacity to see in a bigger way, and to be able to talk about fleshy, messy ideas. It's that they hold true to their ideas and their beliefs, and their dreams have to fit within the paradigm of the Mormon religion. And so you don't have much in common with them anymore. It's like the conversation gets dry and boring really quickly. And so you realize that you just don't have much in common. So your friendship actually just kind of pulls away naturally as well.
Hence the reason why people have a hard time making friends sometimes when they leave is because, again, you get into the real world and you don't know about people's lives without that curiosity, because you don't have this common thing that you're all plugged into.
Yeah.
Right. So what is there to talk about, right? It's hard to talk about people when you're not engaged in something that you're all plugged into. You don't have common events. Everybody's doing what they do. It is not like everybody's going to some big convention or whatever it is on the weekend, or some, I'm sure in both communities we have things like that. But it's a different skill that we never learned. So it's interesting. It's the same formula. As we talk, we see that it's pretty much the same. It's funny because I could pick out Jehovah Witnesses pretty easy, just the way they dress. I mean, I can't even tell you what it is. I can pick them out, right? And I was flying to Salt Lake City one day for business or something. And I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't thinking about Salt Lake City in the LDS. I was just kind of in my own world. And I get on the plane. I'm like, all these Jehovah Witnesses on the plane. Like I thought they were Jehovah Witnesses, right, for a second. And I'm like, oh, that's right. I'm going to Salt Lake City, right? Something about them are very much the same. I mean,
Yeah.
the way they have their shirts tucked in and the women were so modestly dressed. And I'm like, I thought I was amongst Jehovah's Witnesses, but it's very much the same.
Well, and what I was told my life is that that's the light of Christ is within us. It's shining so bright, and now what I understand it as, it's an innocence. It's not. It's like they call it a cleanliness, or to me now I understand it as innocence. It's, I don't want to say the word ignorance because that's pretty harsh, but it's almost an innocence that they don't know the deep, messy parts of life because they've kind of just been protected in this little bubble where they just don't know the full spectrum of emotions and this full spectrum of relationship and connection to a diverse and complex world. And so it's an innocence about them. It's interesting.
Yeah, and it's also what I find, and there's a lot of truth to what you said, but what I find is there is an appearance that is part of the club. Like how you appear to people is very important, because most human beings, regardless of what you believe, have their own personal struggles.
Yes.
But they're not going to admit it. They're going to struggle with it. It's just hell on them because they don't want the judgment, and they feel like they're being judged by God, and this is Satan, and this battle, and when, we're all humans, but it's very important to put the image across to people that everybody's kind of cookie cutter and the same, but behind it, go talk to that guy's wife. Right? I mean,
Wow.
get to the nitty gritty. I mean, we're all human beings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is, I think because they are so ashamed of themselves and so about the image that they portray, they struggle with things far longer than they actually should because they're not honest about it, right? So I think humans are humans. I think anyone that is really striving to be the best version that they can be, you still have your struggles, but you get past things a lot quicker if you are honest with yourself and just be who you uniquely are. We all are different. We're not supposed to look the same. We're not supposed to be the same. I shouldn't be able to walk in a plane and just I can't tell one person from the next, right? Everybody, they lose their sense of individuality. I think the beautiful thing is for everyone to learn who they are and let that shine.
Yes.
That's how we all do this, right? You share your gift, I share my gift. We're doing it right now.
Yeah, I agree.
We're doing it right now.
It's about radiating an authentic essence about who you are. Where I was trained growing up that I would reflect and radiate the essence of the church. I was a representative of the church at all times. That was when somebody asked me who I am, it was almost my identity is, and I'm LDS.
Imagine if this whole broadcast was just like we were in a church and I was just like, shirts all buttoned up. And Sister Jensen, it says in scripture, blah, 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 blah. What do you think about that? Like, so it's not authentic. You know what I mean? And you're doing your role, and we're just mouths. We're just conduits for a religion. Or you don't see who I am at all. And hopefully anybody watching this gets a little sense of who I am because my personality is showing and I'm being me and I'm being authentic and we're having real talk, real discussion here. Not something that's controlled and I'm told to dress a certain way and I'm talking a certain way, I'm standing and I'm just being like a robot. We're so used to so much of that. And again, that's part of the process too, is to finally go, this is who I am.
Yes.
And it's okay.
And I'm
Warts and
okay.
all.
That's the whole thing. Whoever
Warts
it
and
is
all.
I am, I'm okay. Because that is one thing that I noticed when I like watch General Conference now. General Conference is the semi-annual event that Mormons put on where they have the prophet and all of the top leaders of the church will speak. And what I notice now when I listen to them is their cadence and their tone and their vernacular. Everything is almost like robotically, even the flow of their message, the undulation of their voice,
absolutely,
everything is like the same. And I'm just like, what in the heck? It's like robotic. And I didn't ever notice that when I was in. And now I'm like, they can't speak from the heart. They've got to speak from the doctrine.
I got to tell you a funny story. I was visiting, I'm from Hawaii, and well, I was still living there. And I met this girl out one day, and we started talking on the phone, and I kind of liked her, right? So we decided to go out on this date. We were going to go to I think it was a Steely Dan concert or something. So we get to the venue, and the tickets were all sold out. They only had the really expensive tickets, and come to find out that she was a former Jehovah Witness. She had been gone for 13 years, and she started going back to meetings.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh God, I really liked her. Like, no. So it was a Thursday night, and she thought it'd be funny. She drives up to a Kingdom Hall, and the meeting was in session. And she goes, since we can't go to the concert, we're going to the Kingdom Hall. She was driving. I didn't have a choice. So she drives to the Kingdom Hall, and I'm like, you got to be kidding. I hadn't gone to years. I hadn't gone in years. I go, you got to be kidding. She goes, come on, just do it for me. So I'm like, whatever, right? And it was funny because I have a shirt on that has a skull in the back because I was going to a concert.
Not part of the uniform.
So we go in there, and I used to live on Maui, and this is in Maui, and I know some of the people in there. It wasn't the particular congregation I went to, but I know several people in there, right? Oh. And I'm sitting in the back, and I'm just like, I'm just going to observe. And I hadn't been to a meeting in years, and I'm like looking at these people. I'm like, this is weird. They look like robots. I'm like, I never saw it from this perspective. This is bizarre. I'm looking at these people like, I grew up doing this all the time. I did not have this perspective like, you're all robots. Oh my God. Any person that wasn't raised in this would walk in here and go, this is freaky.
Yes.
This is weird stuff. And, guys would come up to me and like, hello, brother. And, they thought they had some new, they thought I was a interested member. So they wanted to, study with me. And then a couple of the guys knew who I was. They came up to me, and I'm like, this is just bizarre.
Well, that's honestly how I feel when I go to LDS events now. Is I'm just like, oh, it's almost it's almost like going into the Twilight Zone.
It was truly the Twilight Zone. The speakers on the stage, I'm like, you are a robot. I wouldn't know who you are. Like, I do not see the man you are. I have no idea who you are. You're just someone giving a message, and you're a tool. You're a tool of the church.
Yes.
Yeah, that was bizarre.
Yeah. Well, this has been awesome.
You have no idea, Wendy, how it's so funny. My family, they never ask questions. They never know about my life. How fast the word got out that I was at a meeting.
Oh, yeah, right?
My mom that doesn't even live on the same island calling me up. I heard, like, it was crazy.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine.
Good stuff.
It would be an interesting day to see me in church because, I imagine that whole telephone would happen in, no time at all. They'd be like, why? Wendy's back in church. First of all, what is she up to? Second of all, finally she's seeing the light and she's coming back. So. Well, this has been awesome, Rodney. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your insight. And I'm excited for the January event coming up. I'll leave the link down for people who want to get tickets. If you're in the New Jersey area, please stop on in and see the amazing things that Rodney has put together and amazing speakers. Tell me again who you have a keynote speaker coming.
Yeah. So I have a doctor, I have a therapist from New Jersey who specializes in cults. So he's been on the Sally Jesse Raphael show. His name is Goldberg is his name. Sally Jesse Raphael, Geraldo Rivera. He's been on TV many times, but he's won awards for his work on this subject matter. So I always try to have a specialist to come in that can really break it down and really get to the nitty gritty of it. So we're gonna have a good time. We always have a good time. We bond. We have a great time. We learn a lot, and it's life changing. So if you are in the area, anywhere in that Pennsylvania, Baltimore, Jersey, New York, all those Rhode Island, all those states, come on down. It's going to be a great time. You're going to walk away with some golden nuggets that'll change your life.
Yeah, and would you say there would be something that an LDS person could benefit from too?
Absolutely. I mean, as you've seen on this broadcast, it's not that different, you know. So yeah. This will be the third event that Wendy's speaking at, and the JW people, it's like she was a JW because it's not that different. So, it's, you know, and if we do have more representation from the LDS community, we'll make sure to kind of craft it in a way that's really palatable for all. But it's the same stuff.
Yeah,
don't worry. Come on down. It's the same stuff.
Yes.
Mind control.
Yeah. So true. So thank you, Rodney, for sharing that and for sharing your wisdom with us. And we'll have to connect again and talk more about this later. But this is a great video, and I always love being able to glean your insight. And we're just so much on the same path of being able to help people deprogram and help them, you know, gain the skills to be able to move forward and live a productive and happy, joyful life. So
yes, good stuff.
Kudos to you.
Thank you for your work, Wendy. We'll see you next time.
Okay, take care. Bye.